Hey, Shop Talk listeners, what's going on? Thanks so much for joining us today. I appreciate your attendance. We're just gonna give a couple more seconds for people to start kind of coming in, and we'll take it from there. But yeah, so welcome. I'll just go ahead and get through what we're going to be talking about today. All right, so today, as you can tell, we've got Gabe Davis with us. You may be familiar with Gabe. I've seen him around. And Brendan and Elizabeth, who you're very familiar with. And we're talking about capture services. Just wanted to kind of get started by talking a little bit about what capture services is, and then we'll get into the finer details with Gabe and Brendan as our resident experts, all about capture services. They'll get into that, and Elizabeth is with us. She'll be able to help with any questions that we can that you guys come to us with. So with that said, this webinar we're going to be looking at from a client's perspective, using capture services as a tool to basically acquire or somehow get a Matterport model. That's what we're looking at, and it's one of many ways that you can use. We have a lot of devices that we support, from 360 cameras to Leica BLKs to the Matterport camera, and even your iPhone. And this is one of those ways. This is also another way that you can, use another kind of technology that we provide. We'll get started with what is Matterport Capture Services and how are customers using capture services. And then Gabe will talk to us about what's next and how you can learn and get more access. So let's go ahead and dive right in.
It's great to have everyone. Thanks for spending the time with us today. We're excited to share a little bit more about the Capture Services program. Let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Brendan Dowdle. I manage the Capture Services group here at Matterport. Capture Services was launched in mid last year as an additional tool for customers to acquire their models beyond just purchasing cameras or various camera equipment to do it themselves. And since we launched the program, we've had a lot of success. There's been a lot of engagement with the program, and then we've been able to service quite a number of jobs, which we'll kind of talk a little bit about here. So what is Capture Services? Capture Services is really, think of it as an outsourced Uber type network of capture technicians that can go capture properties on behalf of our customers. Our capture technicians are highly trained, they're vetted, they typically have 3+ years of experience with Matterport. They shoot exclusively with the Pro 2, so all the models are at the highest quality level that Matterport provides. And what we've done through Capture Services is made that ecosystem, made that professional network simple and easy and available to use for all of our customers. And so, Capture Services, when we launched, was primarily geared towards servicing our enterprise customer base, so customers that had large property portfolios really anywhere in the globe. And so our capture technician ecosystem could then support those larger portfolios. So for example, a large commercial brokerage that might have capture needs in over 100 cities in EMEA, North America, and APAC. Those are the types of customers that we currently service with the Capture Services program today. In addition, though, we also service jobs for industrial sites, for travel and hospitality, we've even done some special jobs like stadiums and concert halls, etc. So the ecosystem is very, very trained and is very capable to service any type of property. But really, the benefit of Capture Services, think of this as purchasing a camera or an iPhone or a 360 camera as a do-it-yourself solution, which we are definitely encouraging all of our customers to do. But if there is a instance in which you need an outsourced professional vendor to support your capture needs, the Capture Services program is designed in a way to make it super easy, simple, and straightforward to order a highly professionalized Matterport scan. So, what are kind of the tenets of the program? Like we want, I mentioned this as an Uber type network. So, we want to provide a service that's fast. So, when you have a scan need, that you can order that scan and do it quickly within the next couple days. We are, and Gabe will share a little bit more here, making investments to really make it really turnkey. So through our systems and platform that we're building, but also through the training of the capture technicians themselves. There is no hardware required on behalf of our customers. There's no training necessary. If you have needs or you derive value out of the models themselves, we can be a solution to be that model acquisition vehicle for you. And then what we've also done is we've made the pricing very predictable. So anywhere in the US, if you have scan needs, there is standardized pricing, so you can understand your costs even before you make that scan. And so these are the core tenets of the program, and that is something that our enterprise customers are highly valuing. And as Gabe will share a little bit more, we're extending this program to kind of the entire Matterport customer base, as we roll out our next product and the next phase of the capture services program. So who are our capture technicians? I mentioned a little bit here that they're highly trained. Typically they have 3+ years of experience. We have capture technicians in the United States in over 110 cities. We have 25 cities in Canada, and we're also present in EMEA and APAC. All of our capture technicians have Pro 2 cameras. So when they're provisioned for servicing a job, they will come out with a Pro 2 camera. And as part of the program, we require that they've at least captured 20 models in the past. Many of our capture technicians have significantly more models under their belt. So all of the capture technicians that come into the program are vetted. So there is an interview to evaluate customer service. There's ongoing customer service and quality assurance through rating systems and kind of touching base with our customers and understanding the experience. And we try to, as I mentioned before, we try to turn around these scans very quickly. So that's a little bit of an overview of who the capture technicians are. And as I mentioned, they're kind of spread throughout the US and Canada and EMEA and APAC. And they've been a great community that we've been working with, and excited to continue to expand this that ecosystem to provide even more services to our customers. So maybe just a little bit of how customers are using the capture services. As I mentioned, we service a wide variety of customer types, and we've done scans all over the globe. So Amir, if you could go to the next slide, we have a few statistics to share. We've done jobs in over 110 geographies or regions. As I mentioned, that's primarily been it's predominantly been in North America, but we've done jobs in also EMEA and in APAC as well. To date, we've captured over 50 million square feet of property, and we've done over, in the tens of thousands of scans since the launch of this program. And so the program is well oiled at this point, and now we're starting to introduce new capabilities and new features to make it available to more of our customer base. Something else to add here, we've done properties across the board. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but from everything from commercial office real estate to resident, single family and multifamily scans to industrial sites. We've done 100,000 square foot rooftops. We've done concert halls. We've done stadiums. So there's really no type of property here that we cannot scan. So if you have a scan need, we want to receive that, and we want to deliver that scan at the highest value that we possibly can. kind of a little bit of a motto that we have here on the capture services team is we believe that, every property has a story, and it's really our responsibility to capture that story and present it to our customer, which is you, and ultimately the end users that are experiencing the model in a way that it really tells the proper story of that property. And our capture techs are well trained to get the feedback from you and the property to scan it in a way that you would be proud of. So I'm going to pass it off to Gabe here. I've alluded to a little bit of the advancements what we're making here in the capture services program, making it easier to leverage and use, which Gabe has been leading for us here at Matterport. And so Gabe, why don't you take it off and kind of share with everyone all the wonderful work that you've been doing.
Awesome. Thanks, Brendan. All right. So as Brendan said, we're going to walk through the, what is the standard offering and how it works. First, just to let me introduce myself. My name's Gabe. I'm on the product team. I've been at Matterport for a few years, and really excited to talk to you all about this today. So, at a glance, really, capture services, the standard offering across industries and use cases. It addresses customer, feedback and needs that we've heard from customers and that we want to meet. And so let's talk for a second first about new customers as a primary capture method. So the standard offering, just like capture services program, will provide a way to get customers to the value that they want to achieve with Matterport faster. So it's really the most quickest and the most efficient way to get a Matterport space. If you don't have to do, if you either are not in a position to do it yourself, or you don't want to. The second is that there's no hardware investment required. And third, one of the main things that we are aware of is that capture is a craft, and it's not just learning Matterport capture, but the actual behavior of capture, and acknowledging that every space is different and has its own intricacies. And so it has, the learning curve for customers, looking to use this product is really where they have much less of a training and operational overhead burden. So from an existing customer perspective, we've heard that, there are types of places that our customers capture that are just more complex or more nuanced, and they would love to have somebody who's really done it before. And so we think that this standard offering has the ability to provide the expertise and of the broader community through our capture technicians for complex properties and properties that may really benefit from having somebody who's already been around the block and done something like that before. The second is that there's a lot of customers more and more that are coming to Matterport that are already using 360 cameras or their phones, and they may have not invested in Matterport hardware or other professional grade hardware. And so as a complementary capture method, captures the standard offering of capture services allows them to supplement their capture method that they currently have. And then lastly, across use cases, if you start to think like, well, if I need to capture one space that's in a really far distance and I do it infrequently, well, capture services may be a more economical way to achieve that, as opposed to having to travel to that site and do it yourself. So those are, distilled down the customer use cases and common use cases that we're looking to address here with the standard offering as part of capture services. So let's go down one more click and look at this experience of the standard offering. So there's going to be a new customer experience. It's going to be a really fast and simple ordering experience for describing a property, scheduling an appointment, and evaluating, and specifying who the site contact is and how to get access to the site, and then and submitting that order. And then there's going to be a new experience as well to view historical and upcoming orders. And so you can see there'll be appointments that are booked but haven't happened yet, appointments that have happened in the past, and you have one central place to look at all of your records in the experience. So from a kind of what spaces are supported and what are not, this experience will be targeted at spaces that can be captured with one Matterport space, as opposed to, there's a lot of properties that may have multiple Matterport spaces that, are connected to it because of the design of the space or the preferences of the customer. And this will start where it's only, supporting spaces that can be captured with one Matterport space. Yeah, so now to kind of walk through how the experience will work a little bit further. So once a customer selects capture services, they're going to place an order, and then the capture will happen, and then they will receive their space. And at that point, there's going to be notifications that go through the product to customers by email and in the product to inform them about where the order is throughout its life cycle. So that way you're made aware and you're reminded. I think over time, those will get more sophisticated and maybe more contextual. Right now, they're going to be delivered through the product experience in my.matterport.com and by email. The user who's ordering can be different than the site contact, but the user who's placed the order will be the contact that it will be getting the notifications to start with. For the product offering will be available for, like I mentioned, up to Matterport, up to spaces that can be served with one Matterport model size spaces, but also spaces that are less than 30,000 square feet. And we're going to be expanding the regions that this product serves gradually and over time. We're going to be starting with select regions in the United States. So, now, one of the big questions is how will I access this? How will this work? And so from a customer experience standpoint, if a new customer would come to Matterport, there's a one distinct experience, and then existing customers will have another. So let's talk first about new customers. It's going to be really, really simple. Customers are going to discover Matterport or come to the site and browse and see what the latest information may be about Matterport. And they're going to be able to check if a property is in the coverage network without choosing a subscription plan. And then once they have feedback, so they can check multiple addresses, they can check one, that's totally their discretion. And then they'll be able to choose a paid subscription plan and then begin the ordering process for capture services. An existing customer, you'll just log into your account, and over time, you'll see capture services section added to Matterport Cloud or my.matterport. And you'll click that and you'll see an experience for capture services and information on the Matterport Cloud dashboard. And then third, you'll begin to go through the capture services ordering process. So in either case, you'll be able to easily discover capture services. Second, your expectations will, before you choose a subscription plan or you think a place can be captured, you'll have the ability to check whether that property is in the network or not. That is an overview of the capture services standard offering. And to talk a little bit about and set expectations on what's next, there are three things that I think are important to communicate. So one, we're going to continue private customer testing, and through that, then we're going to make capture services the standard offering available in limited select regions in the US. And then we're going to begin expanding that throughout EMEA and APAC. And we're going to have more information around ahead of time to sign up to follow on to regions and specific locations as we go forward. Today, though, this is an overview, and that there will be several regions supported next, and then we're going to get more and more starting internationally and so forth over time throughout the rest of the year. So that's an overview of the capture services standard product and what's coming next. Amir, can I pass it back to you?
Yeah, great. That was super informative. Really appreciate it. Before we jump into Q&A, I just wanted to point out great ways of staying connected and learning more about things like capture services, and where we're going to go next with it, and how it's developing, check out our Facebook page at facebook.com/Matterport. Everything that we do, that new that comes out, is posted there. And if you haven't seen it already, you can go to our gallery, which is just matterport.com, I believe, /gallery. And if you like that and feel like you have captured space, or your space that was captured using capture services, is something that you would like to promote, then you can go to go.matterport.com/nominate-your-space and tell us about it, and we'll throw it in the gallery. So a good way of promoting your space that way. With that said, that was great, and I really appreciate the deep dive into capture services. I think we can get into Q&A. If you haven't submitted a question, I see that some questions have already been submitted, and Elizabeth is answering them. But we would like to let Gabe and Brendan answer some questions live. So you should see the Q&A button in the bottom of your screen. You can just tap that and submit any question that you like. Danny asks, what's the cost for the service, and what are the geographic restrictions?
Yeah, so the price will be of capture services depends on the space that's being captured. So there's not one set deterministic price. So before a order is placed, based on the description and the characteristics of that order, the price will be shown so a customer can evaluate whether that is something they want to go forward with. So pricing will be based on the size of the space, the location, and like the times that are available. So that's generally the characteristics that we're going to be using to determine the price, and then that will be shown through the order experience to customers. So I think it's a very reasonable ask. As we get closer to maybe and we already have this plan to have some examples of here's a property like this in our documentation, so that you can see that type of feedback. But yeah, each order may have a different price because of the characteristics of that order and the property. So that's how that will work, and that will be shown before you place the order. And then in terms of geographies, so yeah, we're going to start with a really limited set of geographic areas, and we're going to really research and validate, and then begin to expand. So we're going to start in the United States, in several regions, and then we're going to expand from there. And so we'll take this group, and we'll share those when we're at that point, and we're ready. Right now we're still in private customer testing.
All right, great. So we've got another question here that came in from Mark, who says, so Matterport Capture Services is competing with existing Matterport camera and platform clients.
Yeah, so I'd be happy to that. I wouldn't necessarily say that we're competing. What we're doing is providing a complementary service. What we have found recently, that there have been tens of thousands of new subscribers to Matterport that have, for one reason or another, not been able to get access to a model or scan their property. And one of the reasons for that is because of the cost and the difficulty of acquiring those models. And so what the Capture Services program is designed to do is for customers that have their own accounts, that want access to essentially a seamless, easy way to acquire models. This is a solution for them. Broadly, we the MSP program, the MSP community is one that it continues to be a very valuable program, and we want to continue to support. A lot of our MSPs provide value added services beyond just the capturing itself, and so there will likely be a lot of customers that end up generated through the Capture Services program, that are seeking a commoditized version of capturing, that end up wanting or desiring more highly valued services, and at which point it might be more appropriate for them to work with an MSP to service their needs. So ultimately, we do believe that this program will be complementary to kind of the existing professional photographer base, and as the saying goes, kind of a rising tide rises all boats here.
Amber had a question, says, what is the benefit as a client of going through this system versus just contracting with a vendor directly?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there are a few. First is what we found from our research and talking to many customers is that one reason may be the geographic coverage served. So a lot of service providers, photographers, they exist within a regional corridor, and if a customer is looking for have one relationship across multiple geographic areas, Matterport may be the standard offering may be more of a appealing candidate from that regard. The second dimension is that there's going to also be a method of kind of consistency and reliability that as a customer, you may be able to just have a relationship with Matterport and not have to evaluate another third party. And that just may save them some time, research, due diligence, so forth. Those would be two reasons. And then lastly, depending on their customer's workflow, they may really want to do something with the end of the model, and so they want that ownership, or they want the access to other features within Matterport, and so they want to be either directly own the subscription, depending on the service provider that they're considering. Those would be three primary reasons that I would think the Matterport standard offering may be advantageous for them to consider.
So there's an anonymous question here. So the aim of this is to allow technicians to come and do scans with their equipment instead of us having to do them?
Yeah, I can answer that. So yes, that's exactly right. So the capture technicians that are part of the program all have Pro 2 cameras. This is their equipment, and so they'll come out and service the job with their equipment, and then deliver the model into your account. I think there was a question here later, and maybe I can just address it quickly now in terms of ownership of the models. So as Gabe mentioned, one of the values of using the Capture Services program is that the model ownership ends up being in the essentially the requester hands. And so the models are delivered into the requester account and are thus then owned by the requester. The capture technician never assumes ownership of the model at any point during the job life cycle, and and that's one of the kind of a major value proposition for this particular program.
Another question says, can you guys give us just a range of pricing per square foot? Is that something that we have?
I can answer that, Gabe, or do you want to answer it?
Yeah, I was just going to say is I think that as we get to, as I mentioned, kind of next phase of communicating after, the private customer testing that we're doing now, through that, we'll provide examples of how pricing would work in different regions. Really, so I'd rather do that then with concrete examples that are documented. But in general, just keep in mind, we're using skies and then other features of the appointment of the order and the region primarily to determine the price. And so we're not, so that we'll lay that out then, and then give examples then. I prefer to do that.
Sounds good. Okay, great. So Michelle has a question, says, can you do a 360 Matterport outdoor pool area only without doing an interior? So, I mean, I can actually answer that one. Yes, that is possible. So, these technicians are trained, they've gone through, they've been vetted, as Gabe and Brendan mentioned. And so, just as an example, outdoor pool areas, would be done with the Pro 2, later into the evening hours when the sun is below the horizon or just kind of at the horizon. That would allow a Pro 2 to scan around the pool without any kind of problem. So we've got, I think we answered a lot about the pricing. We've got some questions about that. We just went over it. And so if you guys have any other questions, those who have submitted questions regarding pricing, and if you've got any other questions, go ahead and shoot. Okay, so this is just a good question all around. You guys probably have been doing this and talking to the capture techs and customers taking advantage of the system, the capture services program. Maybe you're better suited to answer something like this. How can this scale my business?
So sorry, Amir. Just to clarify, is that maybe say the preface of that sentence again, and then
the question was basically, how can this scale my business? And I'm hoping that having spoken with the customers who are kind of in the beta phase of the program, what are you seeing as taking advantage of this, service? How is that helping businesses scale?
Yeah, so I'd be happy to answer that. So as we mentioned, we've been working with a wide variety of customers today. So the Capture Services program has been is available to essentially enterprise customers that make commitments to scanning. And so, what we've seen in terms of how we help customers scale their business, a lot of our customers have properties that span multiple geographies. And so, we have one customer, for example, in a given month, we will shoot in 35 different cities in 4 different countries. And so what the Capture Services program does allow is customers that do have scan needs across multiple geographies, to support those needs. In addition, our Capture Services program, we're starting to go a lot deeper. And there are some questions here I think we'll address here later about how we accept new capture technicians into the program. But we're starting to go deeper in a lot of places, so the capacity to handle a high volume of scans is there as well. Another customer example, we did over 700 properties in less than 20 days because they had those needs. So because of the breadth and the depth of the program, the Capture Services ecosystem is something that can be leveraged by customers that have significant scanning needs and really need a program and a system that can help them scale across their entire portfolio of properties.
I think one other thing to add to build on is that we also see patterns where customers who already have relationships with their customers, so they have a relationship with the business and they're capturing on their behalf, Capture Services in places that they don't operate, as Brendan said, from a geographic standpoint, Capture Services functions as a subcontractor for them to achieve to fulfill the customer obligation, but they have the customer relationship, and that's great as well. And so that allows them to have enhanced service offering and continue to grow and fulfill the expectations or the demands of the businesses that they have relationships with.
Great. So another question. This is also coming in from Anonymous, so I'm not sure if it's the same person or not. But basically, the question is, as a technician or business owner that does scans, if I have several photographers working for me, would each person need to be certified as a capture technician, or could I get an umbrella certification?
Yeah. So great question. So first, we're looking at it's like certifying the entity, the capture technician entity, and then when we do that, that's right, we're like provision each individual user that technician works with. And so I guess the answer is both. So we evaluate and we'll take the capture technician as part of the program at an entity level, and then in order for them to operate within the program, we will provision the entity as well as its users through the capture technician systems and workflows. And so I think the answer would be both, but we start by looking at the entity.
Yeah, maybe just add that. Look, we recognize that a lot of these entities have their own training and kind of robust programs to get their either employee or contract base up at a standard where they're delivering services for your entity in a high quality way. So as part of the onboarding, our manager of the ecosystem, Jeffrey Fong, on my team, he will speak with you on trying to understand like the how you do your training, how people are brought into the company, and that can also suffice as kind of a level of standards that we should expect from the company. I would say as the technicians go out and service jobs, we are tracking the quality of that of their service offering to the end customer. And so if any issues come up, then we would end up addressing that with the entity, and to create some positive reinforcement there on how to correct those issues moving forward. So as Gabe said, it's a little bit of both, but we do primarily work through the entity.
So Tracy's just asking a really quick question. Can you please recap where you go to place an order? Is that available today?
Yeah, so great question, Tracy. This is not available today. This is in private customer testing. And when it is available, you log into Matterport, my.matterport, and or Matterport Cloud, whatever term you use. And there'll be a section within the product there that you can see capture services, and you can check coverage, and you can view your upcoming or historical orders and place new orders. From a timing perspective, you'll start to see that in the product experience through Q2. And we'll be back here to share as we get to more geographic regions and transfer from private closed customer testing to limited availability in several geographic markets.
So Mark asked a really good question. Says, what or how is the technician paid? So I'm a technician, I'm certified, I get called out to do a job. How am I getting paid at the end of the day?
Yeah, happy to take that. So all of the capture technicians, when they join the program, are shared kind of the pricing the pricing logic, I should say, that goes into getting paid through capture services. It follows a very similar logic that Gabe just described for the pricing of the job itself. So it varies by property type, by the square footage, by the city. And so there's no set rate here that the capture technician gets paid. What we do though is all of the capture technicians are part of the program. They're not obliged to take the job. So when a job pops up on their screen, they have the ability to accept or deny the job, and that price is provided to them at that moment in time. But that logic is known in advance, so that price is typically not a surprise to the capture technicians. I will say one of the benefits that we've heard from our capture technicians in the program is there's no customer acquisition costs, there's no support. Matterport's handling kind of all of the kind of peripheral customer relationship with the end customer. And so it's really going out and executing the scan on behalf of the customer. So as a result, the efficiency of the job is quite high. And that's been, one of the major value propositions for our capture technician to join the program.
Liam has a question, says, as someone who currently works with the V1 Matterport camera, just the Matterport Pro, could you briefly touch on the upgrades that the Pro 2 has? Yeah, basically, Liam, I can go ahead and touch on that. The Pro 2 is no different in its measurement accuracy. It uses the same 3D sensors, structured infrared light, but the Pro 2 does have a slightly higher resolution. So it produces a 2D panorama that is going to be higher resolution, has more clarity, color, things like that. I'm pretty sure, with my experience, the HDR qualities are the same, but overall it's the resolution. Pro 2 can get you 4K quality, whereas the Pro 1 is slightly less resolution in its 2D panels. Hopefully that answers your question there, Liam. We did have another question. I think this is really good, actually. If our client requires an NDA before scanning the space, can we have a signed NDA from the technician before scanning the site. So this kind of gets into all those spaces that are, protected. And
I can speak to that. So so all of the capture technicians have a contract with Matterport and have signed an NDA with Matterport, and so they kind of fall under the Matterport umbrella here, and those are and so if your client requires an NDA before scanning a space, that's actually something you can put in with Matterport because the non-disclosure from Matterport and our capture technicians could then apply to you and your customer. And again, that's part of the value of of leveraging the capture services program. Instead of working and signing NDAs with hundreds of capture technicians, we've already done that work for you. And so you can work with us, put that NDA in place, and we can ensure that the standards of the contracts that we have signed with our capture technicians are upheld as part of that job.
Anne asks, if you're an existing customer of Matterport enterprise account, is this an extra service to add onto that?
So yes, in short, it's so the way that we support our enterprise customers is a little different here. All of our customers that have a paid subscription will ultimately, over time, once all of the regions are opened up, will have access to the order system that Gabe kind of shared a little bit earlier in this presentation. But if you are an enterprise customer, have larger scan needs, that is something we are able to support today in all of our in-network regions. Actually, quite honestly, even beyond that, we've done scans in as far places as Rio de Janeiro, in the Dominican Republic, in South Africa. So in short, we'd love to support your needs. If you do have bigger scan needs, what I'd recommend is reaching out and calling sales, and they can really understand what you're trying to accomplish and support you and get you hooked up with the right program here at Matterport, and we can start executing on any of those jobs even today.
All right, we got a really good question here. I like this one. Can service technicians outreach their own business to clients being scanned, meaning, form the scan like in a uniform logo, with a vehicle branding, company card, things like that? Meaning, I think our technicians who go out to do a scan, can they promote their own businesses, or are they there kind of on behalf of Matterport, therefore they should really have the Matterport shirt on instead of their own business's shirt on? I think that's what we're getting at.
Yeah, so it's a good question, and this has come up a few times. So the way that the contract with our capture technicians is defined is that there's not really, we don't want to prevent our capture technicians, and their own businesses. We recognize that our capture technicians have their own businesses and need to be free to kind of sell their own services. When they're on a job on behalf of Matterport, however, there are provisions in there that essentially limit solicitation, when doing jobs on behalf of Matterport. If the customer is inquiring about other services, we would absolutely support the technician highlighting the various capabilities and the additional services that they can provide. But we don't have strong non-competes on our contracts, but we do highlight that solicitation as part of a Matterport job is something that we want to kind of limit and be within reason. So hopefully that answers that question.
So this kind of gets technical, and I think like tax related. Do you need the W8BN-E in the USA? I'm not even sure what form or thing that is. Do you guys know anything about that?
Yeah, so I think the W8BN is international. So we do require W9s from all of our capture technicians within the US. And I believe the W8BN is the international form of that. So yes, in short, we would require W9s or W8BN as part of the onboarding to the program.
Okay, so this is actually an interesting question. What costs will a technician incur by becoming part of the CS program?
What costs would the capture technician, or are there any? I mean, not from a Matterport perspective. So, like, the goal, we work with existing professionals that already have a Pro 2 camera, so there's no costs on the equipment, and it's really just the cost of executing the job is what our capture technicians, the costs that they earn. So, but outside of that, there's no additional costs. Maybe the question is referring to, do you need a Matterport account to service a job? As part of the capture technician workflow, when a model is created on the capture app, it's then uploaded into a kind of a very specific specialized Matterport account. We call it a holding account, which all of our capture technicians are collaborators of, and they don't have to pay to have access to that account. So that account, then we take the model from that account and then ultimately transfer it into the end customer account. So, but there's no additional costs that are incurred from a Matterport perspective for being a technician. We actually want this program to be a revenue generator for all the technicians that are a part of it.
Back to some kind of tax-related questions. Are the technicians employees or 1099 subcontractors?
Yeah, so no, the technicians are not employees. They are, 1099 subcontractors. And we primarily work with entities, to the question earlier. And so, the actual end customer tech can either be an employee or a customer of a capture tech entity that we work with. And then there's a contracting relationship between that entity and Matterport. So all of our capture technicians are in that, more, in that 1099 kind of bucket.
Good to know. Getting to the last few minutes and only a couple more questions. So yeah, if you do have more questions, go ahead and submit them now. Mark asks, if I have further questions about the program, where can I submit my questions?
Yeah, so I think it depends. If you're a prospective customer and you're interested in the program, to leverage it, to support your needs, we highly recommend reaching out to sales. If you are a prospective capture technician, there is a application page on our website, and then we are, and I think there's some questions here, and so would like to address it. We are trying to accept as many people into the program that essentially meet the threshold of qualification to be in the program. We are throttling essentially acceptance, in order to ensure that we create a balanced supply and demand dynamic here. So we want all the capture technicians that are part of the program to derive significant value through being in the program. As we roll out the self-serve product that Gabe highlighted earlier today, I do expect that there will be more demand, more predictable demand in concentrated areas that will give us the ability to accept more technicians into the program. So those that do apply, there is a bit of a wait list today. However, I hope as we grow and build this business, that wait list time will diminish and we'll be able to get you into the program. So in terms of reaching out, if you want to learn more, sales is a great avenue on the capture. If you do want to talk more about the program and you're contemplating applying, we also have, we can also share an email to reach out to the capture services program where you can inquire about the capture tech process, the engagement in the program, and we'd be happy to answer those questions.
Okay, great. We got a couple more questions. What is stopping the customer from removing us as the middleman?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's maybe two things. One is customers may, I think there's going to be a set of new customers that are going to be using this product that are just going to be discovering this through Matterport and not necessarily a technician. And so they won't be, viewing it as, will customers be removing the technician? They'll just be discovering it for the first time. And they'll be, meeting a technician when they come on site and so forth, things like that. I think then they're on the second part, which the question's getting at is, I think there'll be different features that may assuade a customer. One, which, do they want to work with Matterport's capture services, or do they want to work with a certain service provider that they know? And I think that some of those may be that they have an established relationship that they trust with that service provider. They also, the service provider is providing additional services related to or on top of Matterport that are meeting their needs. Third, that there's maybe some proprietary or vetting that service provider had already done for that business. Again, those are just 3 examples where that service provider or technician or that organization with many technicians may be a better candidate for that customer. Whereas this is more of a standard offering that's not going to have at this time additional services that meet every business's workflow and or needs. And so I think that a customer wouldn't want to the standard offering come to Matterport because that's directly in that case. But that's a few reasons to that question. I mean, Brendan or Amir, feel free to add on to that.
Yeah, I think we talked about this a little bit earlier in the shop talk. So definitely concur with that. And I just add like a lot of particularly in the agent real estate space. I mean, you guys know that space better than anyone does, and agents require a lot of hand holding and white glove service. And this program may not necessarily be the best solution for someone that is looking for a absolute white glove hand holding and marketing support on top of the Matterport model. And so I think there's definitely going to be lots of opportunities to differentiate your service offering to the standard service offering of Capture Services. The reason we're launching this is we see a need in the marketplace for a commoditized service because there are lots of account subscribers that we've have recently that have not been leveraging Matterports because of the difficulties of acquiring a model, and the goal is to solve for that problem. And we hope that then they become hooked with Matterport, start going deeper, and then explore all of the ways in which they can essentially extract the best value out of Matterport.
All right, we're at time. We do have just one last question. I think this is a really quick one, so I want to just kind of take care of it before we get going. Technicians, do they need to be licensed photogrammetrists in state that require this, like Florida?
So all of the capture technicians that are part of the program are must have the licenses based on the local geography that they service in. And that's part of our vetting process. So maybe one last thing to end on. It seemed like there were a bunch of questions here on pricing. I just want to explain, we're not trying to be coy on not answering the pricing. We're still working on the final tweaks on the pricing logic, and that is going to come out here soon. So just stay tuned. We want to be transparent with the pricing, and that will be rolled out here in the next couple of weeks.
Great. That's good. Good to know. Okay, with that, we are at the top of the hour. So really appreciate your attendance and all the really great questions. And so hopefully this was informative and you got a lot out of it. We'll definitely keep you posted on Capture Services and all the things to come. And we'll have another shop talk in another 2 weeks. So see you then. Take care, everybody. Thanks.
Thanks.